of the Book Direct Virtual Summit. I hope you are all well wherever you are tuning in from. Please do me a massive favor in the chat box. Just go ahead and let me know where you're tuning in from around the world, and we will give you some shout outs on this live as we get going. If you know somebody who should be in this live, tag them, tell them you're here. This is the finale. This is Friday. Shall we get going? I think we shall. Let's do this.
And let's do this. You're frustrated, a source of consternation. You're struggling to rent accommodation. You be not rubbing hands with glee. You're being screwed over by Airbnb and Booking.com. They're not nice to the hosts, no, by far not the most. Taking high commission costs, they be presenting you and taking all that percent should be into your bank account. And maybe you don't know how to use social media to grow and get the bookings coming direct. Well, don't worry, I'll explain what comes next. Yeah, you're gonna be glad you heard a rap from me. I'm explaining that's an academy. Oh, like an orange so juicy. Gotta look at that thing by Bruce Lee. That's the 3 T's, tools, tactics and training to give you the confidence that's a no-braining. You get weekly group coaching, 500 people, that's the most in. Let me say this, going through it, you know that he's the Martin Lewis for the hospitality owners. Yeah, not dumb like Homer Simpson, not the guy from the past. There's a vault of online training videos that will last you for a long time, teaching you how to master Facebook, Instagram, and what comes after marketing by email, the pricing, branding, Google, so you don't fail. And here's another thing that you ought to see. If you don't get a return, there's a money back guarantee. What? Yeah, you can't top that. Return on your investment or you get your cash back. Sounds like a deal, sounds like a steal. And that's the Boost Lee Academy that I reveal.
All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for tuning in. We've got people from all over the world. We've got Las Vegas. We've got Bozeman, Montana. We've got southwest of France. Just welcoming Easter guests. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Let's give you a couple of shout outs as we are here. Now, this is the day, this is like the trickiest day, obviously, to do a live because obviously it is the start of said Easter weekend. We've got Ahmed joining in on Instagram. Hello, Ahmed. We have got all people tuning in from around the world. This is amazing to see. Good to see you all. And I know it's tricky because this is Easter weekend. Families, guests, life. Today we took a trip to Castleford in the UK, for those of you who don't know, and we went to Escape. So it was a busy Friday. Just literally got back about an hour ago, managed to wolf down some tea. And I hope Americans know what wolf down tea means. But we are here and we have got an absolute stellar lineup. Before we crack on with that, I just want to announce the winner of Spin the Wheel yesterday. Nadine, congratulations. You won the Hospitable Host book. And Marissa Coleman, shout out to you. So I set a challenge for everybody over the last 24 hours to share a post about the summit on their social media, on their Instagram, on their Facebook, and tag in Boostly. And I said I'd pick one person, pick your name out of a hat. And Marissa, you won. So well done. You also win a copy of Hospitable Host book. They'll be winging their way to you. Can we all please show some love for Nadine and Marissa in the comments? Yes, I've got more jingles. All right, it's been a long week. Please bear with me for this. All right, so we've got people New Mexico, Bedford, Oxford, Bicester, British Columbia in Canada, Forest of Dean, Suffolk, Bend, Cleveland, Inverie. How do you say that? Inverie. I can't say it. Saltburn, lovely Saltburn. Know it well. Heading up that way next week. And so many more people tuning in live with us, which is phenomenal. Thank you very much. All right, so we are not slowing down this evening. We are literally just getting going because we have got unbelievable sessions coming up tonight. And as I share my screen, we've got Mr. Craig Webb. Now, I said this yesterday. I put a post out. I said, right, when we do the summit again, what is the what is the topic you want to know about the most? What is that topic that you want to know about the most? And the overwhelming favorite was Craig Webb. Now, I love Craig Webb for many reasons. One of them is that he is a fellow Liverpool fan. And as you can see here, my Google searches has been running about the new Liverpool manager behind the scenes. So you'll see those tabs open up there, but bear with. But also as well, he has been in hospitality for many years, stepped away to go into SEO. Very, very talented when it comes to it. He's worked on a lot of Boostly clients' websites, and obviously Boostly does websites, but we don't do the SEO. SEO is a complex topic in itself. It needs constant attention too. And we are now working together on a top secret project that I have started up since the turn of the year, and it's been great to work with him. And we came up with this idea for the summit, and I said to him, have you got a video? And he said, yeah, absolutely. There's a session I can put together. So we've got to start with that. Then we're going to go James Sinclair, Mike Michalowicz, and then we're going to finish with a session that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. That's why it hasn't been on the agenda, but it's a top secret one. And this is the guy that Airbnb doesn't want you to know about. This session is really going to open your eyes, and we're going to end with it. So please make sure that you stick around for that. We're going to be going for 2.5, 3 hours, maybe, depends on how long these sessions last for. But I just wanted to say, make sure you stick around. If you have to duck out, family, guests, life, that's fine. Come back. You know where we are when you need us. We're going to be here in the same places, wherever you are tuning in from. So all the people that are tuning in from Instagram, that is amazing. Thank you very much. Grey Fox and everybody else that is on there in the Cotswolds, which is lovely. But we're also going to be on the Facebook, the Instagram, the LinkedIn, the YouTubes. If you want to join in the chat, though, you got to come over to that Facebook group, and you should know where it is by now. All right. My final question before I load up this first video is, what has been your biggest takeaway from the week? What has been that one session, or those sessions that have just sort of opened your eyes? Was it the AI assistant roundtable, where the tech is going for this industry? Was it right at the very start when Jen Boyle said, and this is the one that stuck with me, you know, there's no point in worrying about direct bookings if we haven't got an industry to get direct bookings from. So talking about regulations, fair regulations, you know, Thibault coming in, and all that data from not only Thibault but from Jamie Lane was unreal. We had Rose talking about working with content creators. We've had Laura and Paul, and again, firm favorites and sessions that I've had messages about saying that session was unbelievable. And we've had all the amazing sponsors as well. Thank you very much to Hospitable. Thank you very much to Touch Day. Tyan obviously doing a session on the guidebook Glow Up. Her session managed to get me demonetized on YouTube because they're playing obviously all that music in the background. So thanks, Tyan, for that, which made me laugh. Ruta, nice to see you joining us live on the YouTube. On the Instagram, we've got people saying Eddie, Rose, Laura, and Paul, which was very, very cool. The revenue chap was good and made me think about stuff. That was good. North Texas saying hi. Back to basics, Paul Anderson. Again, there's been so many good sessions. Rudy from, obviously from Mavericks with his AI and his website software that he's building behind the scenes. The excellent team talking about hiring. Mr. Sean Rakijis, again, he blew the roof off, which was unbelievable. Hello, Mr. Boostly. Hello, James. So thank you very much for tuning in over on the YouTube. But like I said, it's literally just getting started. We've got a good 2 hours, so strap yourselves in. Go get a bottle of wine. Go get a glass of wine. Go get a beer, whatever you are drinking. Thank you very much again to Wendy for dropping off that beer last night. It was unexpected, but it was a lovely little bonus. And whatever you've got planned for the weekend, I hope you have an amazing one. As soon as we get done on these next round of videos, I'm going to let you know what's going to happen to this group post Friday and what's going to happen next with this group. Tell you where all the videos are going to go and all that good stuff. But let's get started with me. So Linda was saying it was Sean. We've got people saying Paul and Laura, Team Boostly. And this is the thing. I mean, I want obviously as well people to start thinking about this. Paul, Laura, Craig, Rose, they all started in Team Boostly, in the Boostly Academy, Boostly customers. And now they have grown and they've started to do more and more. They've come in front of camera and they're putting their expertise forward. I would like for you and somebody watching this to put their hands up and put forward their name to speak in June. And I really want to showcase new people, new voices. And, you know, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be an expert in your chosen topic. And if there's a session that you thinking that you could do, again, don't be shy. Send me an email. Say, hey, I would like to do this. Send me a quick loom with an overview of it. Obviously, I'm not just going to pick anybody. I want to pick the good ones. But if you think that if you're something you want to talk about, showcase your expertise, then please make sure you email me. And who knows, you may be showcased in June. And I love doing it. I love to showcase Boostly members. I love to showcase people who have, you know, come in as customers of Boostly and now are going off and doing their own thing, which is great to see. And I love that part of the community. It's one of the things when I first started Boostly, I never thought would be the case. So, and it's an amazing bonus of doing all the things that we do. All right, shall we do this? Let's do this, shall we? Without further ado, everybody, let me load in that first session. Have a good evening. I'll be back straight after, but let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to the summit. This is me, Craig Webb. I'm here to talk about SEO today and hopefully explain to you what it is. SEO. Some of my friends don't know what it is I do. I say SEO and they say social something. I say no, search engine optimization. And they always ask me, what does that mean? Is that all about social media? Not really. It's more about the technical side of getting your website shown on Google higher up the rankings, which is what we want. And the term puts people off. They don't get started on it because they think it's too big a subject and it's outside their capabilities. I'm here to try and break down the barriers today and explain what it is. I've got half an hour. I'm going to split that into 3 kind of 8 or 9 minute sessions. I'm going to talk about 3 sections of SEO. One is on-page SEO, one is off-page SEO, and the third is technical SEO. Don't be scared by that. There is a fourth. It's what we call conversion rate optimization. And if you had a Boostly website, certainly one of the newer ones as well, they're very good at conversion rate optimization. And that is trying to get the customer from the top of the sales funnel, your homepage, to the bottom of the sales funnel, the checkout page, as soon as you can. Now, nothing else matters really. We want them to stay on the site. Of course, we want to have a look at your blogs and read all about you. But ultimately, we want the customers to check out quickly. And that's what conversion rate optimization is. So think about, I'm not going to cover it today, but think about your own sites. Have a look at it with a friend or someone who's not been on your site before. Ask them to navigate round. Can they go and book somewhere quickly and easily? Can they check the dates and pre-populate the dates as soon as they land on your website and get booking? Anyway, so this is me. This is my website, web marketing. I do digital marketing for hospitality. I was in hospitality for 32 years. I was a general manager in a group of hotels, one of the largest independent groups of hotels in the UK, and I oversaw a number of hotels. I was GM for about 18 years of about 7 or 8 different hotels. 7, can't remember. But during that time, I learned SEO. We had websites for our own business, and I learned SEO on the job. In lockdown, I set up my company, and in January 2023, I started working for myself full-time, doing SEO for digital marketing for my hospitality clients, although we've got other clients as well. Most of them are hospitality, short-term rental owners, hotels, leisure, virtually all leisure and hotels. So that's where my customers are. Now, if you want to have a look at my site later, I'm going to add an extra couple of links in here at some point. I do have a course coming, so very similar in style to this, but I'll be diving deeper into every area of SEO, and you don't even need to learn it. I will just show you. You follow my mouse, and that's all you need to do. And I will talk you through things, and literally you follow my mouse, and I'll explain how to do everything. So that's what my course will be. You'll be able to sign up on my website soon. So I'm going to talk about these 3 different areas. Let's dive straight into on-page SEO. And I'm going to go straight over to Ginger and Gold, which is Liam Corallan's website. When that loads up. So this is a Boostly site. Really nice. They do about 20 properties in Norfolk in the UK. That's a Boostly 3.0 site. They do property management as well. So they're encouraging their clients to let them manage their properties, and they put them on the website for them and do all the management. So we're going to dive into the back end. I've got Liam's permission to do that. And we're going to talk a little bit about on-page SEO and the things you can do yourself. So let's have a look. So when you first log in to the back end of a website, it kind of looks like this. That's the dashboard. And there's lots of confusing things there that probably don't mean a lot to people. But I just want to focus on SEO today. So I'll be looking at the pages you have, and I'll be focusing particularly on a WordPress website. But if you've got Wix or Squarespace, you just need to find that a relevant part in your site. So pages is where your main pages are, and that's where these pages on the top of your site here. And we're going to be focusing on a particular plugin called Rank Math, which has lots of different tools to help you conduct your SEO on your website and make your website run a little bit better. So let's start with some pages. No, actually, let's start here while we're here. If you've got Rank Math installed, great. If not, you can at least add the free version. I do recommend the pro version, but you can add the free one and have a look at the dashboard first. You need to turn some of these on. I wouldn't worry about Content AI. They charge for that. Let's look through analytics. You need that one on. Image SEO, that's okay. Local SEO, definitely. Redirections you need on. Schema you need on. Sitemap you need on. SEO Analyzer you need on. Unless you're selling something on WooCommerce, you don't need that on. So that's what to do there. Now, some of these things will help speed up your SEO settings. So there are things called schema markup, and it's all a little bit complicated. But actually, if you go into local SEO and your settings, it will help you. Because filling out the details, it will push the code through to Google in the back end and ensure Google knows exactly what your site is about. So you could put something in here. As long as this is all filled out, you're golden, I was going to say, and there it is. So have a description of your business, fill out a couple of 100 characters on here, add your logo, email address. So that can all pull through for local schema. So basically, it's using the data and embedding it deep into your site so Google really understands your location. So having this sort of thing, location filled out, you can have your opening times. And then down the bottom here, you could have your about, what is your about page, so it knows where to go. What is your contact page, so it knows where to go. Not sure it's got one. And then down here, you can have geo coordinates as well. So it's really embedding exactly where you're located and helping Google find you when there are searches pertaining to a location and an area. You can just go to a Google page and say, find my geo coordinates. You drop in your address and it will give it to you. So you just put in the longitude and latitude with a comma in the middle and click Save Changes. So that's going to help you because it's built into the back end of the site, your location, your opening times, your address, and all about your business and what you do. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go over to a page. Leave that one. So I'll do this just on the home page, so we can see a home page there. And the tool we use to amend our website is Elementor. When that loads. So Elementor, really, that's what you use to change the text on your website. So what you change on here changes on the front end, and you can kind of amend it and update it sort of so you can visualize it while you're doing it. With Elementor, you have to do these changes in this side screen over here where I've got my mouse, not on the page. And you can go down. These boxes are called containers, and each container you can go click on it and click on the left, and you can change the text and amend it to what you want to. So let's go back to the actual. We'll edit in Classic Editor so we can first see our SEO score. So that's what we're looking to do. This is often in different positions. Sometimes this green, red, orange, yellow button, depending on what your score is, will be up the top here. Sometimes it's down the bottom, but you'll find somewhere, if you click on it, it might open in the right-hand side, or it might be below, and that's the theme you have. Sometimes it's just laid out differently. So what we're trying to do is every single page on your website, we need to allocate a 3 to 5 word important key phrase that is about. On your home page, we're talking quite a broad search. We might be talking accommodation, county or city, and customer avatar like pet friendly, self-catering, that sort of thing. So we might be saying something like pet, let's type it in right, pet friendly cottage, excuse my typos, Norfolk. And that becomes our focus key phrase that we're going to use for this homepage. And we need to think about key phrase for each and every page of our website. Yeah, and it needs to pertain to where the customer is on the booking journey. So now we've got this as our focus key phrase, because that's what our business is about. We want to edit the snippet. So at the moment, our page title is here. So if we were to go to Google, we can see it comes through here. So it says home, ginger and gold, and under this here is our meta description. If we go back to the actual site, you can see there it's the meta description, but we're wanting to add pet friendly cottage Norfolk. So we can say home, what are they? Percentage. That's just a bit of code to pull through the page title. Sep just means separator. Site name is the site name that's already in the back of the website. So we want to add a little bit more detail here because we can see we've got up to 60 characters. We need to use all of those. It's most important. So We are pet friendly cottage Norfolk. We might put a little space in there. And now suddenly we've gone from amber to orange because our score is getting better. If it was a different page, we'd change the link. We'd put maybe pet friendly Norfolk in there. And then in here, we'd write up to 160 characters and fill this out. Cottage in. This has to be exactly the same because Rank Math won't pick up. So I've put in Norfolk, and it needs to be identical for it to know that it's the same thing. So pet friendly cottage Norfolk. And now we're trying to create a description that comes up here because we want the person who sees us in the Google search results to actually click on us. So this has no bearing on our ranking factor, but it does have a bearing on whether the customer clicks on our link or not. So this is really important. We try and look for some enticing text to get them through. So let's have a look. Pet friendly cottage Norfolk, book direct today with the owner for best rates and availability. Excuse my messages. Availability. Full self-catering. Let's say facilities available. Then we close it. Then we click update. Now we can see suddenly our score has gone from 20 to 73. So what we're looking to do is try and get this into the 80s or 90s. You won't get it near 100% because you have to use their AI tools, which they want to sell you. So we're at 69 now, and it tells us what's still left to be done. The focus keyword doesn't appear at the beginning of your content. So our pet-friendly cottage Norfolk, we now need to go to the actual page. I can just nip over here. Now, if it said pet-friendly cottage Norfolk up here somewhere within the content, our score would increase again. Now, the search term we use in here needs to really relate to who you are. And we don't just write anything that we think or you think, because our opinion is not that important. What we need to look at is factual evidence of how many people are searching for this term. So the best thing to do is go to a keyword research tool like Ubersuggest, SEMrush, or just start typing in your key phrases into Google. And it gives suggestions underneath or suggestions down the bottom. People also searched. So you need some actual factual evidence. Don't just think what you think is the right thing. You might think pet friendly, but actually dog friendly might be a better term. So it needs some thought and it needs some actual research before you dive straight into that. Anyway, let's leave that one for now. I'm going to move on to Offpage SEO next. So Offpage SEO is all about the work you do not on your website. And you're probably trying to think, well, how can I do work not on my website that affects my website? Well, that's all about links from other places to your place, to your website. And a good place to start with that is Bright Local. So I'll talk about that in a second. So if you're trying to do SEO, one of the best things you can do is blog writing. And you're talking about, it could be about your journey, about remodeling your properties. It could be about local restaurants, things to do in the area, local businesses, and you're attaching yourself geographically to those other reference points near you. Restaurants, football stadium, tourist attractions, etc. And writing blogs about them is a really good way of doing that with links to them. If you write a blog about a local restaurant, for example, and then you have some social media content, each blog could be broken down into 4 or 5 social media posts. And each time you tag that restaurant in your post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, then that restaurant will say, "Oh, look, these guys are talking about us. Fabulous." They'll share your post, and you're then piggybacking their audience, and your link is then shared even further, which is getting traffic to your site. So you're kind of piggybacking and getting traffic that way. So that's one way of doing it, through social media. The other way is sort of backlinks, not just from guest blog posts, which other people might link to. If you make a post and a blog, and someone likes that blog, they can put a link on their website back to your blog or resource if it's interesting to them. Now, the other thing you can do is create backlinks through somewhere called Bright Local. So sign up for a free demo. Try it free there. You can get a 2-week free trial. And when I last used it, once that ran out and you let it expire, they offered me another 2-week free trial. I think they still do that. But basically, it's got in there a citation builder. And a citation is directories. Let's just call them directories. Yelp, 192.com, Apple Maps, all those sort of directory listing sites which contain your business data, and a citation could be your address, your business name, your phone number. They're called NAPs, name, address, phone. And the more you can put links and NAPs into other places on the internet, it builds your digital footprint and gives you a higher domain authority. And domain authority, or DA, is a term used by Google to give you a score of how authoritative your website is. And the more links back to your website, the more Google will deem your site authoritative. So that's why it's important. So A, start blog writing. B, go to somewhere like Bright Local and start building out your citations and directory listings. Okay, the last thing we're going to look at is technical SEO. So let's move on to that one. So I wanted to talk a little bit about technical SEO and how your site is structured, which impacts how Google reads your site, and then therefore, if it's structured well, how it ranks your site. So if it's structured incorrectly, it will penalize you. And there are tools we can use to show us if it's working well or not. Let's have a look, for example, here, this heading is called a H1, a heading 1. And there should be one heading 1 per page, and every page should have one. If there's more than one heading 1 or H1, then Google gets a bit confused. And you should also have your H1 at the top and your H2 less important headings further down. H3s or 4s could be down here, and as you further down the page. So technical SEO is about having the correct headings in the right place, having text embedded in the images, having it loading fast on mobile and a tablet or a desktop. It's about having the images optimized so they load quickly, all those different things. So it's quite a big and difficult subject, but you kind of have to tackle things one at a time. Now, let's go to the back end of Liam's site for Ginger and Gold. And there are plugins we can use to optimize our site speed. And let's just load that up. So one of the main things that causes your site to be slow is images and image size. So if you had a plugin installed called Smush. You can upgrade to Pro. You can then smush the images, basically compress them, so that instead of being a 1 meg file size or 2 meg file size, compresses it down to like 400 or 500 KB, and it will load faster. And you'll get rewarded by that. Google will reward you for your faster loading time, particularly if you've got a competitor that's loading faster than you. They'll rank higher. You need to load quicker than them. And the less issues, the better. And that's really all we're trying to do, is remove issues all the time. So the other plugin is WP Rocket. I'd recommend every single website, every single WordPress website should have WP Rocket installed. Now, it's a little bit techie, and I don't recommend you going into this and start clicking all the buttons and turning everything on, because it can break. There are even warnings on lots of things that says, are you sure you want to click this? But if you're slow and careful, you can do one thing at a time, refresh your site, go back and have a look on the front end, check it's all working properly, check the animations, check the buttons work, check the scrolling works as it used to, check the text is not overlapping, check lots of different pages. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't really mess with this. Get someone to do it that knows what they're doing. But it's really worthwhile having on your site. Because what we then do is we go to what's called site speed. This is a Google product, and we can grab the link and we can actually scan the website. You can drop the link in there. This is free to use. What I'll try and do, I'll create a document for you guys. You can go in and get the links to all these places. So you just click Analyze, and it tells you any issues on the site for the mobile version of the website or the desktop version of the website. So it's telling you how fast things load and ways to improve it. Now, your mobile speed will always be slower than your desktop, because obviously a desktop has faster processing power. But what we've got to try and do is get these scores up into the 90s, really. So we'll probably find that the desktop speed, that's already way into the 90s. But we can have a little look further down, and it will give us some idea of what is the problem. So the largest contentful paint is the first thing that loads, and it's loading slowly, basically. So it's telling us it's taking 6 milliseconds to load, and that's a little bit long. So it's telling you what it is and possibly how to fix it. And if you look at one of the solutions there, it shows the logo there for WP Rocket. So that's what technical SEO is. In the back end of your website, if we went to the pages, and if we were going to edit a page, let's have a look at say a home page with Elementor. If you go down the bottom here, so depending on whether you use Elementor or Divi, different themes, the buttons are in different places, but always very similar. In fact, there's a mobile version. So you click on that and it brings up these buttons at the top. Excuse me, what was around. And you've got the desktop version, a tablet version, and a mobile version. So you need to see every time you change something, does the text look okay, or does now the H of Norwich drop on the next line, or does the text overlap, or are the buttons too close together? Because if on a mobile you can't press the button because they're too close together and your fat fingers press two buttons at the same time, then you're going to get penalized by Google because it knows that the buttons are too close together on the mobile. So that's all technical SEO. Like I said, I'm going to try and drop you, I'll drop some links together with where to find all this stuff, where to find site speed, how to use Ubersuggest, keyword research tools, that sort of thing. And I'll create a little PDF where you can go and get that sort of thing. I'd love to work with you guys again. I do SEO as a company, as for hospitality businesses, is what we do. If you want to work with me, great. Otherwise, get a VA to do it. We have a course just being uploaded right now, should be available by the 1st of April, if not sooner. You can sign up to that right away. And if you're part of this this online academy this week, then there's a discount for you, and I'll drop a link in that as well for you to sign up. So really cheap, like 20 something pounds a month. And then we'll also be at the end of an email to help you with any questions as well. And you can ask us how to solve problems, and we'll create new videos and post it in the training to help you guys understand how to do SEO, and not just on WordPress, but for Wix and Squarespace as well. And that's all elements of SEO, from keyword research, competitor research, on-page, off-page SEO, technical SEO. The beauty is you don't even need to understand it. You just need to be able to follow our prompts and fill in the blanks, so to speak. All right, it's been really fabulous. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope to connect with you. You can find me on Facebook and I'll be in the group. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Can we all please show Mr. Craig Webb some love for that in the comments? Open up your phone. If you're watching us with us live on your phone, you'll know by now there's a love heart emoji button. Tap that as many times. Thank Craig. And please do watch out for him, because he's bringing out, obviously, a hospitality course, which, you know, to have somebody do SEO for you can get very expensive. Believe me. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt many times over. But, you know, I'm very fortunate in a position of where Boostly is now. We can afford to have that. A lot of you watching this can or won't. So you have to just eat the glass, do it yourself. When we talk about SEO, it's very easy to get the eyes rolled over, you know, all those things. But what I love about Craig is he explains it with hospitality first mindset. He's been in this industry for years. You know, he's been part of Boostly for years, and now he's doing this, and he explains it so well. So again, make sure, I do think that's a 2 times watcher, to be perfectly honest. And obviously the trick that I've showed you with ChatGPT and summarizing it, it'll massively help you. Don't forget, all of these videos have been recorded and it's on the replay, and everything is moving over to the YouTube channel. So you'll be able to keep in touch with that. Even after this group closes down at the end of this week, all of the videos are going to get moved over to YouTube, and you should know by now how to get there. Now, talking about YouTube, my next guest, this is a pre-recorded interview. And I'm really glad that I pre-recorded this, because the day that I wanted to film this, my internet broke here. It like literally broke. And I very quickly found a meeting room about 30-minute drive away from where I live, jumped in, got there as quick as I can do to speak to Mr. James Sinclair. Now, the reason why I mentioned YouTube and James Sinclair, for those of you that may be based abroad, or those in the UK who don't know who he is, he's not hospitality first focused. He is somebody who is an entrepreneur through and through. He loves his businesses. You know, he loves his brick and mortars. He's somebody that I have been to see in person, somebody that I've actually been to Marsh Farm, which is one of his properties and businesses. And he's just recently purchased a hotel. Now, when he purchased a hotel, he documented it all on his YouTube channel. And I just jumped in the comments saying, you know, love to give a bit of help and guidance and yada, 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 OTAs, all that good stuff. Piqued his interest. His PA reached out. We've had a couple of Zoom calls, and it's been amazing just to sort of give some help back, because he's given such wealth and knowledge to me over the years. Now, we're going to talk about buying businesses, why he bought this business, you know, the sort of due diligence that he goes through. It's a bit of a different chat than what you've seen this week, but I really wanted to finish this week with with James Sinclair and Mike McAllowitz, who's coming afterwards. So again, it's about a 30-40 minute conversation. I'll pop back in afterwards, see how it is. But please do, join in the comments, talk about these sort of things, because it is such a good conversation. I always like talking to James, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I chatting to him. Okay, let's delve in. Okay, Mr. James Sinclair, thank you very much for doing this. Today, what I wanted to talk about was buying businesses. The reason why we're going to talk about this, and the reason why I wanted to get yourself on, is that I've been following you on social media, YouTube, for a long, long time. And you're probably one of my favorite content creators when it talks about buying businesses. The way you explain it is amazing. And if I can understand it, I think anyone can understand it.
Oh, kind of you.
And the reason why it's important, especially now, is that there are a lot of businesses in the world of hospitality, short stay accommodation, that are going to be on the market officially and unofficially. And I thought if it would be great if we could just dig into how to buy a business, how to go about it, how to get into the mindset, and more importantly, how to approach it and find them. So you've obviously got a big background in this. If you could just give a very quick summary on your more recent acquisitions and talk about the hotel, and just sort of give a quick summary about your journey over the last couple of years, and why you're a big fan of buying businesses.
Yeah. Well, certainly for your listeners, we had a block of flats in Southend-on-Sea, which is a tourist town and a commuter town to London. We owned another business of prominence in that city, a big ice cream company called the Rossi Ice Cream Company. We got 6 flats in the block, and we flirted with the idea of turning that into Airbnb, and we punched out the numbers, and we actually realized that because of the way we bought it and the efficiencies and the price that we paid for it, we make just as much with no hassle, just doing it on just standard ASTs. And we actually went to, I think some guys that that looked at it, and yeah, it was margin, another 10 grand a year, but but when you take into all the repairs and all of the labor involved in running an Airbnb, it didn't really work out. And I was also looking at the costs of the cleaning the sheets, doing that efficiently. And I just thought, what do hotels do? How do hotels do it? Now, aside from that, I was thinking about hotels for quite a long time, because we've got 2 visitor attractions that we own within the rest of the business. We always wanted to do accommodation there. And I thought the best way of us understanding how to do that and knowledge up in that space was look to just see how hotels did it. So I looked for hotels for sale. There was one that was for sale literally 10-15 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now, our office. And we structured a deal to buy that hotel. I suppose the thing that I think is, I just try and think a bit bigger. I think if you're low barrier to entry, anyone can do Airbnb. They can remortgage their house, use some savings, they get their pension day come in, and they look to leverage some income. And my experience of running businesses for 20 years, the lower barrier to entry you are, the more competitive the marketplace is, the more everyone wants to have a little go at it. And I think people have had a good run, and they make good money from it with very little effort. And then the government look at that, and then you've got all the people that have got hotels and bigger businesses saying, well, hang on a sec, we're not very happy with what's going on with Airbnb. And then you start getting the restrictions in cities that it can only be for 95 days. And, we should be protecting the businesses that employ people, and there's rates. And I think the government will always side with businesses that employ people, pay business rates, are more professional. And I think I've always seen that. And even in COVID, you see like the businesses that employ people got the most help.
Yeah.
And I think I see Airbnb as an investment trade, if you could put it like that. It's really an investment, but you're doing a little bit of trading. Whereas a hotel, I see 100% as running a business, and you're trading something. Like if you own a hotel and you die, you pay 0 inheritance tax. Your children pay 0 inheritance tax. It's a going concern that carries on. I don't see that happening for holiday lets and Airbnbs going forward. They will be seen as investments, and they will not be treated the same for capital gains tax and inheritance tax. And I can see that happening more and more over the next decade, like they've done with buy-to-let property.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
don't want people doing this.
yeah. I mean, regulation was always going to come in. It started in Scotland and obviously Wales, and obviously now England is getting it. And regulation is a good thing as long as it's done fairly and correctly and rightly. And you're right, you know, you can say the hotel audience are sat over here with the B&B saying, listen, if I'm to open this hotel, as you know, there's so much regulations, there's so much red tape you've got to jump through and the hoops, and that's even before you get into like TV licenses and PRS and fire and safety, where if you are anybody, a man on the street, I could go right now, find a house, I could go to the landlord, I could say, hey, I can put this on Airbnb, I can do it on Monday. You know, you can literally open the doors on Monday. There was nothing stopping them from getting going. And obviously that's a concern for so many reasons. It's like a step up from opening an Avon business, you know, or whatever business, you know. So it had to happen. You know, obviously we're right in amongst it now. So hotels are good because obviously there's a lot less regulation, and you're set up for that. And you found that with obviously chatting to the chaps that we knew, our mutual contacts. So okay, so you found a hotel. So you thought, right, I'm going to go invest in a hotel. This is the right vertical to go down of all the ways I could go down. How do you go about, number one, identifying the right one? How did you go about approaching, what sort of like the first steps in that journey of going, right, I know I want to do this, to finding the property?
Well, yeah. So when we look into something, does it fold into our existing empire? Does it vertically integrate into the rest of our businesses? Does it do over 1 million of revenue, and can it be run under management? And is it location based and has history around it? Had all of those things, but those sort of characteristics are what we look for in any of our businesses. You know, whenever we get involved in low barrier to entry stuff, we always get our fingers burned. You know, every time, you know, you shouldn't be taking on something that is best to be owner managed in the gig economy, which is, you know, a lot of Airbnbs. If you have aspirations of having a little thing that makes you £1,000, £2,000 a month side hustle, I still think it's great. But that is not the camp that we're in. You know, we've got 1,200 staff, and you know, we're always doing things, and we want to have castles with moats around us to protect the business. And some things should be in the gig economy for the, you know, the solopreneur. We are not that, and so we like things that are bigger.
Mm. Okay, so when you found the hotel that you purchased, the Blue Boar, what was it that stood out about this place in particular? Because obviously you were looking at
So yeah,
yeah.
So million plus revenue.
Yeah.
We had our management team from other businesses that could go in there. Huge opportunity for growth. Loads of missed opportunities. Couldn't book direct on the website. Stuff that we've asked for advice from you about. No marketing, rooms just empty, not being refurbed for years, a very limited F&B offering. And as much as I've been saying all this high barrier to entry, I don't want to open a bloody restaurant, but we are opening a restaurant because we do think that gives us a USP as a business. And yeah, we'll make some money from it, but restaurants are bloody hard work, because we do lots of hospitality across our leisure businesses, and we do own some coffee shops and ice cream parlors, but cooking hot food is very, very difficult unless you're doing it at scale. And we believe we can do it at scale, and we believe that it will massively help our hotel bookings. We also got a pub there that does sort of on a high month 45,000 a month of revenue. So there were, you know, we were breaking even, but I could see how, you know, over the next 5 years we could turn it into couple of million, 2.5 million of revenue, kicking in 600,000 of profit that has a good resale value. It's a good chunk of freehold to own. There was vertical integration across our business, and it would be profitable after 5 years of owning it. And these things, you know, and because it was 500 years old, you know, that's a moat around that business. You know, like people have known it for multi-generations.
Mm.
And I don't think you can underestimate in business what a rare and protected form of leverage that gives you.
Mm.
And
So,
I give you another example of that before
yeah.
I answer the next question. But like, we've got an ice cream parlour in Westcliff-on-Sea. It's over 100 years old. And that is a rare and protected form of leverage. Like, multi-generations have gone there.
Mhm.
You know, and people, oh, we've gone there. Even if you're not the best, not that you don't want to be the best, but if you're been around for so long and you're the most known, whatever sector you're in, that, I'm afraid, is a rare and protected form of leverage.
And I mean, you get that with hospitality as well, because the one thing that hospitality is all about, it's about creating memories. You don't really remember that purchase from a shop or an Amazon or whatever, but you will remember going to the sea, going to like that make of ice cream, or you remember going to stay at the hotel as a family or as a couple or whatever, and you've got anniversaries, you've got all of those things, which is very, very true, and you've got that legacy behind it when you purchase a business that is
But
centuries
yeah,
old.
but what I'm trying to say here, Mark, is if you can find businesses for sale that have been around for 50, 100 years, that have been multi-generational, that are not very good, but they're still doing okay. If you then go and put your effort, energy, enthusiasm onto something that's still doing okay, even though it's naff to you, I think establishment really gives you that unfair advantage, and you want to take advantage of that by taking over something that you can make better.
So now that you've dipped your toe into this side of hospitality with hotels, are you keen and eager for more? Are you always on the lookout, or are you going to just keep this in there?
If they were bigger, yeah, I think not running if you've got 55 bedrooms and you can then have a night porter and you can have a bigger staff team, so that and you can leverage the brand more, and you've got all the other add-on bits, I think that then starts to make sense. I think running small hotels, I don't know anyone makes any money out of it. I think you make yourself a wage, and you will be buying yourself a noose that people are going to call you at midnight and do all of that stuff. So if it's bigger and you can afford a management team plus make a profit, then that's definitely worth looking at. And you can find other revenue streams that you can then sweat the asset, which is really the playbook of all of our companies. Everything we've done, we're always looking, how can we get another revenue stream in here to make it really profitable? Give you an
What?
example. We've got
Yeah, go on.
a Marsh Farm, which is our visitor attraction. We've got a big day nursery here on the same site. So another revenue stream that allows us to dilute the overhead of the business.
So it is a good question that's come to mind. And so you've had the hotel now for a while, and I know you're not in the day-to-day running, but what's one thing that you have learned since having the hotel that you wish you had known maybe before buying? Or is there something that you've learned that you didn't realize that you had learned since having the hotel at this sort of scale?
Um, yeah, certainly that bigger is easier, which is
So
always the way,
yeah, bigger is easier. Okay,
because you
so
can afford people to help you.
yeah.
And like if you open a restaurant, you've only got 40 covers, can't make money. You open a restaurant and you have 100 plus covers, it starts getting exciting. You've got 200 covers and you turn those tables 4 times in a day or 5 times, you can feed 1,000 people. You still need one commercial kitchen, one head chef. You need other staff to help doing that, but you start getting that economies of scale. And I think that's very true in hospitality, leisure, and hotels and Airbnbs. You either have one, you have a little side hustle, or you really bloody go for it. But having a medium size anything is it's just a drain on your life.
That's a very good, little takeaway. So let's flip it a little bit. So there's going to be 2 types of brackets of people that are watching and tuning into this. There are those that are going for it and are looking to acquire other hospitality brands, businesses, property management companies, whatever. But then there's those on the other side that may be at the point of their career, their life, where they're thinking of potentially selling. So from the flip side, how would somebody go about starting to value their business, whether it's, you know, short-term rentals, hospitality, or just anything? How would you go in, and if I came to you and say, right, James, I'm looking to potentially sell my business, what's that little bit of advice that you would go, right, go away, and this is how you would value it?
Well, it's always, you know, like when you're selling anything, it's known who your avatar dream buyer is. And looking at what you're saying, are you selling an investment? If you're selling one property that generates income, that's an investment. But if you're selling a business, you know, it needs to be a commercially profitable enterprise that works without you in it. So who are the management team? So if you're looking to sell to us, and there's two opportunities. We either pay nothing for something or something for something, and most of the time we pay nothing for something because there's no decent management team and we're just buying in an opportunity. And when we're buying in an opportunity, we want to be as frugal and as efficient as possible, and then we use our effort and energy to turn the thing around. Now, we have paid, and we paid 1.2 million for that ice cream parlor that I spoke about earlier. It was profitable. It was run under management. It looked like an investment, although it was a traded business. So therefore, it deserves higher multiples. But most of the things that, you know, when we bought the hotel, no real management team there. We've had to put that in. No real marketing, no real history. So we want to pay as little as possible. So if you want to sell to someone that's going to buy your business with OPM, other people's money, whether that's private equity, venture capital, that's when you get the big money. You've got to have a business with an effective management team that looks after the business day to day, or you're buying yourself a job. And if you're buying yourself a job, don't expect good valuation for it.
Mm. So let's just say you've got a management team, got all that in place. Where would you then go about trying to potentially find a buyer? There's not like a marketplace for businesses as far as I'm aware. So how would you go about like finding potential investors or buyers? Is it an easy game, or what can you start doing?
Well, if you make 100, 200, 300,000 pounds profit, you're going to get quite, or anything under that, you get low multiples. And I would go to a local selling agent, a local business agent that will put it all in sundry. If you start making big profits, 700,000, million, million and a half profit, not turnover, profit, then you would go to a firm of accountants that will go to people that, you know, someone like a Deloitte, a Grant Thornton, and Ernest Young, one of the top 5 accountants, and say, look, I've got a business, it's making over $1 million of profit, it's got a lot of assets. Can you find me someone that buy it? And they would be the better people in that juncture, because they will do all the negotiations for you. Most people are useless at negotiations, and you want a good. And do you know what? When it's an accountant selling your business, or in a firm, like if you Deloitte or Ernest Young or Grant Thornton, they will have an M&A team within their team that will go out to market, and because it's coming from them, usually you'll get a higher multiple.
Mm. Lovely.
And they will only get paid they will only get paid on success. The others will get a percentage. They'll always get a percentage, but others might want a listing fee, because when it's small, it's hard to sell profitable jobs, which lots of businesses are. You know, you're looking for another version of you, where you want a corporate to buy you to get the best value.
You've got many books that are out there, and you've got obviously the YouTube channel and the podcasts. If someone was to dig into one of your books, if they wanted to either grow their business to sell it, or were potentially looking to buy other businesses, is there anything that you've put down or written down, or where someone can dig into this topic a little bit more? Because you are so knowledgeable on this. Every time I listen to you talk about this sort of stuff, and I always pick up something new. But where's like the best place for somebody to go from this and go somewhere else from the James Sinclair world?
Well, I do a seminar day called Buying Companies, and then I do one about selling called Investorpreneur, which I ran a few weeks ago, but I'm running it again next year. But there's loads on my YouTube channel, my podcast, where I talk about this stuff, you know, quite regularly. If you want to get maximum value for your business, it's got to look like an investment rather than a job that you're going to be taking over. If it looks like a job that you're going to be taking over or an opportunity, there's a big difference between an opportunity and an investment. Entrepreneurs like me want to take on opportunities, really want to take on investments because I think I can buy it for here, get the value to here. And so it's understanding like that. And do you know what? I think one of the best things that I do that most people don't do, and it's a very, very simple thing, is booking viewings, like to go and see businesses. Don't worry about if you haven't got the money. You've got to have a research investing day because then your mind starts stacking up how you're going to get the money and how you're going to do something. But, a lot of people just research, don't they? They research, they find stuff on Rightmove, they find stuff on Zoopla or on Google, and they might send an email. But no one, if you actually put the effort in to go in the car, that's when someone will negotiate with you more because they know that you're serious because you actually bother to get in the bloody car, and less people are doing that.
How many different properties did you look at before you hit upon the blue ball? So how many places did you go check out?
I think it was on Rightmove and Christie's was selling it, and I thought, I sent it to my PA, can you just put me into this? I'm going to go and see it.
Yeah.
And I just done a deal there and then.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
But then look, why? Well, it's freehold. It's 15 minutes from my main office. I had the management team that I could put in there. I could see all the problems. It was an opportunity play. The way I structured the deal is the way I wanted the deal to be structured. So I didn't have to put loads of cash and then I could use my cash to improve it and then take them out with the right financing afterwards once I proved the concept. All those things were stacked up in my favour. Would I have been able to get that on the phone or on an email? No. It took a lot of meetings and convincing, but I got it over the line.
And also recording a podcast from there now as well. I check in and tune into it. Yeah.
Sometimes we're trying to. I do a podcast where I coach business owners on how to grow their business, and we've done 350 episodes just on audio, and then the last 30 episodes we're now videoing, and we've set up a separate YouTube channel, and we're trying to film them on locations in different parts of my businesses.
It is one of, I'm not just saying this, it's one of my favorite podcast listens. It's like 35 minutes, get it in from like going to the gym or whatever. It's fascinating. I'm normally screaming.
That's very kind of you.
I'm screaming at I listened to one the other day. It was with a recruitment lady, and I was just screaming at the thing like, "Oh, you should be doing this!" And it's good because it makes like other business owners tune in because everybody loves stories, right? Everybody stories selling. It's fascinating. I love it. So yeah, keep up, and I love the video. So yeah, keep it up. I love it.
Thanks, mate.
All right. I will leave all of the links and all of the things and all of the places you need to go. Please do go check out the YouTube. It's fascinating. It's not all just hospitality. It's like the whole business stretch. So it's always good to tap into people's knowledge from outside of your bubble so you can go and learn a lot more. So thank you very much for this, James. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right. How was that, ladies and gents? Did you enjoy that? What did you think? Please make sure you go and check out James Sinclair on the YouTube. He's got two channels, his own personal one, and then he's got this new podcast one that I am obsessed with, like I mentioned in the interview, obsessed with. I am just literally tuning in. I drive when I'm going to the gym, I'll pop it on and I'm shouting at the screen, trying to give like advice that is obviously not needed, not wanted, but I still shout it and give it anyway. Just seems to me like sums up my career. But anywho, let's roll on, shall we? Now the next guest is a lot of people know about Mr. Mike Michalowicz. Obviously, you've maybe heard of his books, Profit First, Clockwork, or, there's so many. And I've been very fortunate to be able to strike up a bit of a relationship with Mike behind the scenes. And I took part in one of his courses that was like a beta one. And I got to be able to work one-on-one with him for a couple of times, and it was phenomenal. Kept in contact with his team, obviously since, and I was cheeky. I've always said shy kids don't get sweets, and he was promoting his new book, and I just said, listen, could I please borrow 30 minutes of Mike's time to talk about his new book, which is All In? And they said, yeah, they give me a Calendly link, and I booked the last available slot. And, eventually we're going to turn this episode into a podcast, but I thought, let's premiere it at the Book Direct Virtual Summit. So obviously we had Extent Team on this week, and they talked about hiring, growing a team. And, you may be in that process of growing your team, but it maybe get to a case now where you've got multiple teams. You may have like a housekeeping team and a marketing team, or you may just be getting going. All In is a book that is, and as I said I said in this interview, it comes along at just the right time. Just when I needed it, it came along, and I wanted to do this interview to thank him, but also dig in to some things that were going through my mind as I was reading this book. So without further ado, let's get into Mr. Mike Michalowicz. And then at the end of this, make sure you stick around, because the final segment, the final interview, the final part of the Book Direct Summit week is going to be with the guy that Airbnb don't want you to know about. And this one is going to be one that you really do not want to miss, especially if you are US based, or if you are a US citizen. That's all I can say, right? Obviously, people in the UK, you can still listen into it, figure out what's going on over there. But this is a good one. Anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on one interview at a time. Can we just please just show some love for people that have been here so far? Give yourselves a round of applause. We have been doing this all week, and some of you have tuned into every single minute of every single hour of every single day that we have done it. So thank you, and I hope you've really got a lot out of it. And thank you, obviously, to the ambassadors, to everybody that's taken part, all of the experts who have come and shared their knowledge, and thank you for just all the love and the kind words and the comments you've all been saying and sending me over the course of the past few days. Much appreciated. Right. Okay, let's do this. Mr. Mike Michalowicz, stick around, come back. If you're a fan of Mike, if you liked his books, please drop them in the comments. I'll be in there watching as we are watching, listening, and learning from Mr. Mike Michalowicz. All right, so I know we've only got you for 27 minutes.
Yeah, so let's roll.
Yeah, let's roll. But I'm going to make sure everybody goes to Amazon, go and get the book.
Thank you.
I was just checking the rankings, number 1, 2, and 3, which is cool. So well done, congratulations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
checking that. So that's good. Okay, so I've got 3 questions, and you can go all in, so to speak, on them. You can go however you want to go on them, and then I've got some questions from like the Boostly community as well. If
okay.
There's time at the end.
Okay.
So if we're all good to go, we'll crack on.
I'm ready, brother.
Okay, so the book is All In. Obviously, this is a book we're going to be discussing. I was one of the very lucky people to get hold of the what do you call it? Like the manuscript?
Yeah, it's a manuscript pre-release that you have there.
Yeah, so I have number 52, which was really
out of 250 total. So thanks for getting that.
No, I loved it. Yeah, absolutely, really good. It just you seem to bring books out, like from a selfish point of view, just when I need them the most.
Good. You're the guy I want to serve. So that's awesome.
So yeah, with Boostly, we've just passed 50 members of the team. I'm approaching into 60, and Clockwork was a big influence, and obviously I did the program Run Like Clockwork with Adrian and the team, and that was phenomenal. And then I came across other books like Traction and all of those others, which are it's just all come together in the right place. But I felt like something just was missing, and this was just what was there. We've implemented so many things. That the one that I personally do now is the weekly meeting.
Oh, good.
I was
how's that serving you?
Yeah, good. It's one of those weird things, when you don't know what you don't know, right? And you're so working in your own bubble of your own business, you sort of don't get a chance to sort of look at it from like a 50,000-foot view oftentimes. And I was reading it, and whenever I read a book, I like to just take one thing and implement it straight away. And the one thing I did was that weekly meeting, and it's good. It's really good. And I feel like I've gotten, because I'm 100% virtual. The whole team is virtual. I don't see this. And so we're very much that sort of Dropbox sort of business. And so to be able to have that weekly connection, get a chance to talk about the personal wins and all that stuff. And we go over the rocks and other things that we discuss, we sort of merge everything together to like put it all in the world of Boostly. So really like that.
It's so important. And it's interesting, the idea of a weekly meeting is overwhelming to many people. It's like, I can barely meet with my team once every 6 months. And they're saying do it every week.
Yeah.
What's interesting is if you're meeting with your team infrequently, say once every 6 months, it's usually for big corrective action. And here's all the problems that have accumulated in all these situations. We really need to fix this. It's these weekly meetings, which can be just 5 or 10 minutes, where there's first of all that human connection. And with the remote environments, we need this to spend a little time just talking to build that, I call it the transfer of trust, that rapport. Secondly, we can do micro adjustments. Hey, can you also do this or can you change that? And we can get micro feedback. Hey, as a leader of the organization, we really could do this or that. And now these adjustments are happening dynamically. We don't have to wait for 6 months to make massive corrections. It's a great retention mechanism. It's a great elevation mechanism because you're doing these small incremental improvements along the way and not waiting for a non-specific delineation or period to do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I say, it's so fun when you read books like this, and the advice is so actionable. That's what I love about all of your books. It's like you read it and you go, oh, I can do that, and we go and do
good.
one thing. So it's been cool. But there's two things that really sort of hit me. So one of them was in the book. You talk about the importance of the all-in assessment, age, general interest, and commitment. So can you share how this concept can be applied in hiring and personal development and ensuring one's commitment to their business and goals and basically vision?
Yeah. I'll lean into one component of it, which I mentioned, but it's very important. It's basically the analysis of someone's ability. And I argue there's 3 forms of ability. Foundationally, we all have experiential abilities or talents. And what these are is what I've done in the past is indicative of what I can do in the future. Then we have what's called innate ability or innate talent. And this is often analyzed through tools like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or StrengthsFinder. It shows our wiring, our natural tendencies. And most organizations actually just look experientially, run interviews. Some, not enough, are doing these analysis of innate talent. We all should be doing it. But the big one, the 80%er that almost no one is doing, which is the biggest indicator of how someone will perform, is the best indicator of how they'll integrate their firm, the best indicator of how they'll perform in the future, is their potential. And I know that's obvious, but if we can identify someone's potential and they have massive potential in the role that we need filled, gosh, they're going to crush it. So then the question that comes out of that is, how do you find someone's potential? And it's really easy. Potential always reveals itself in 3 distinct stages. Someone has potential will always first be curious. They may not even know they have potential. They're just like, oh, I've always wanted to pick up a guitar, or I'll try to pick up the guitar. Then the next level is desire. Desire is like, I want to keep doing this. I want to learn more. This is really interesting. It's engaging for some reason. I can't put this down. And thirst is where you just can't quit it at all. Like, this is who I am. I must do this. And the reason I use the guitar as an example is, say you and I, we go back to the 80s. And we're like, we're going to form the coolest 80s rock band. Maybe neither of us play guitar well enough. Maybe we can do the backing of strumming, but we can't lead. We need Eddie Van Halen, if he was still around. It would be absurd. And this is what most businesses are doing. They're saying, well, let's just hire Eddie Van Halen. If we called Eddie Van Halen and said, hey, you want to join our band? He would laugh at us. He'd say, I already got my own band. I'm making millions and millions. So sorry, I'm out. But if we found Eddie when he first revealed potential, that's when he was 12 years old, he may have joined the band. He was just discovering guitar. So the question, of course, is, how do you find Eddie when he's Eddie before he becomes the real Eddie? And how do you know he's going to be the real Eddie? Well, here's how you do it. You do workshops. So what you and I could do, Mark, is we say, hey, we're putting on an educational class for up-and-coming guitarists. And maybe you and I don't even play guitar. We just hire a guitarist to teach it. But we invite kids in between 10 and 15 years old. And we say, come on in, learn guitar. Our job then is to educate everyone, and in the process, observe for curiosity, desire, and thirst. And Eddie will differentiate himself pretty early on because he's the one who's asking the most, doing the most, experimenting and trying. And he's the one who's coming back with bloody fingers because he can't stop it. He's thirsty. That's the guy who's going to crush it. So what we can do for our organizations is run these workshops. What I mean by this is, I want to pick a random position. I want to hire a salesperson to sell my real estate or whatever. Okay. What I would do is run a course saying, learn how to sell real estate. And the people who are curious about this will show up. I then teach the process and look for people that have the desire, asking them those questions, and the thirst, can't quit it. Maybe I need someone more advanced. Maybe I need someone that already has skills. Then I put on an advanced course and I have prerequisites saying, have to have 5 years of real estate selling experience. learn the triad ladder financial strategy for real estate investors or whatever it is. Like I, of course, made that up, but you'll get people in that are looking to grow because the top candidates are always looking to expand themselves. The best talent's looking to get better. Interestingly, the best people are not necessarily looking for a job. They're not looking on platform du jour saying, I should look for a job now. But they are doing saying, I want to get better at the job I already have. Those are people with the most potential. So put on education and you'll attract people that are looking to get better. Those are the A players typically. Then you go through this vetting process and cherry pick. And the last thing I want to share on this, because I'm so, as you can tell, passionate about this.
Yeah, go.
This isn't just like a theory. This is how the entire sports industry is run. In the US, sports is over $500 billion, $500 billion of sports revenues generated. And they don't run interviews. You get on the field or they observe, they have camps where you're learning skills and they're cherry picking the athletes. Businesses are doing this. A big business here in the US is Home Depot. And Home Depot runs these workshops where you can build a birdhouse. So clients come down, customers of Home Depot, and you build a birdhouse. You're having a pleasurable experience learning a new skill at Home Depot, but at the same time, they have one employee who's observing participation. Who has the most desire? Who's the most thirst? Who's asking other parents what to do or teaching? Who's asking the most questions? Who comes the earliest and stays the latest? Who's really into it? They tap in the shoulder and say, you got the talents to work here at Home Depot. We'd love to have you consider a position here. It's a recruiting platform. So if you want the best, educate them to be the best and you'll find the best.
You've just laid out the framework for any Boostly member who's watching this, and you get a tap on the shoulder from me in a couple of years' time. Say, hey, do you want to become a coach on direct bookings at Boostly? You'll just
you're doing it.
You're doing
it. Here's the beautiful thing: the 60 or 70 people you have Boostly, they're all getting better. So everyone wins. In traditional interviewing, if I'm looking to hire someone or whatever, I bring people through, and the vast majority of candidates, I say, not a fit, sorry, and they go home and say, I don't know why I didn't get the job. They didn't like me. In this workshop environment, everyone comes through and everyone's improving. Everyone gets better. And then I get a cherry pick who's the best fit. And I can observe them in action. Do they have the behaviors we need? Are they cultural fit? And so forth. But everyone comes out better.
Love it. Okay, this is cracking on lovely. The next one I wanted to talk about was the deep dive interview. So you advise candidates about asking about their personal and professional future. So how has this approach influenced your personal business decisions and shaped the way you envision future projects or ventures?
Yeah. So I ask my team as I recruit and bring people on board, in particular, about their personal vision. What I realize, Mark, is that the job of a leader of an organization is not to set a corporate vision. I always thought it was. Like, what's the corporate vision? The job of a leader is to set the collective vision. What's the collective vision? The collective vision is an understanding of what everyone's looking to accomplish in their personal lives, because we all have a vision for ourselves. In fact, what I've discovered is the corporate vision is not the corporate vision. It's the vision of the leader or the owner. This is what I feel achieves accomplishment for us. If we hit this revenue target or so-and-so, I feel some sort of sense of accomplishment. Maybe I get some direct benefit from it. But my team, they may not feel associated with that. And so what happens is a lot of these leaders stick down this flag and say, that's where we're marching. Let's go. Is everyone as excited as me? And they may feign it and say, let's go. But why? And everyone's not motivated by the same thing. With my team here, I ask people about their personal visions. Not only when they come on board, but every quarter we sit down and say, tell us about your personal vision for your life. We have one person here who's overcome cancer, but it's always a concern. She's like, I want to be 6 years cancer-free. There's another person who wants to spend more time with their family. Another person that's looking to move from a house they live in to a new home. Another person who's just looking to learn Spanish. Someone wants to play guitar. All those visions are absolutely important to each individual that stakes that claim. And they're of equal importance. Someone that wants to overcome a disease, or someone that wants to play guitar, or someone that wants to achieve a new revenue target, they're all equally important because that person's personal desires for themselves. So my job as a leader is, first of all, recognize what all the visions are. Secondly, to realize they're all on this equal plane. Thirdly, is can we set up a way that we collectively achieve them? Now, I want to be clear about this. This is not Make-A-Wish Foundation. I don't go out and say, here's your house and here's your guitar lessons. I simply say, that vision is important to you. Are you marching toward it? And as you do the work that we need you to do here in this organization, is it supporting you in moving towards your goal? That clarity is now magnetic. Moving towards some arbitrary flag in the sand that someone else set out there is not appealing, but the flag you set, I want to march toward it. So my job is to line all those flags so we're all marching in that same direction. We meet every quarter and we talk about not just the new vision, but the visions we've accomplished. We have a system. It's actually a tree, kind of looks like the one behind me here outside this room, that you can attach leaves to. And we call it the blooming tree because it's blooming with all these leaves. And people write their individual visions on leaves, paper leaves. And when they achieve them, you paste it or tack it to the tree. And now this tree has bloomed massively. It's recognition of our individual accomplishments. The last thing I noticed is, for me and also for my colleagues here, when we come in, it's dead center in the office. You see this tree, there's a sense of accomplishment. Like you look at it, you're like, wow, I achieved all these dreams. It triggers the remember when moments. Remember when, 3 years ago, I was hoping to learn my first song on guitar and I did? It's up there. Remember when I spent, a week out on the Appalachian Trail, hiking the trail with my family? It was crazy. I did it. That was a personal vision. The remember whens are happening here at the office. So people are coming in and saying, oh my gosh, I achieved my vision for myself. And it's centralized here in the office. It builds that reciprocity, the understanding that the office, the corporate environment is supporting them in their personal environment. And how reciprocity is the more the leader supports their team in achieving their personal visions in their personal life or business or both, the more likely those people will support the dream of the owner or the leader of the business achieving their vision.
Wow. So the next question would be, how does a leader, or how do you recommend entrepreneurs and leaders balance their personal growth aspirations, but also at the same time leading a company and adopting the all-in philosophy? Because it can be a bit of a juggling act, right?
It can. We have to be clear that the only way the company can sustain its mission that is set by the person that founded it as a leader is by generating revenue, by being in business. So if we're out of business, we're all losing the impact this business can have on our personal dreams. So there's no clarity about this. This isn't, like I said, it's not a Make-A-Wish Foundation. We're not coming here and everyone, let's go after your own wishes and let's do this. What we're saying is the company puts equal significance in what you see in yourself and the necessity for you to fulfill a job here that supports what we set for the corporate plan. And so it brings about this automatic balance. But we also talk about the finances. We have open books here. I noticed, this is quite a few years back, and in a prior business I didn't have open books, but I did share one time and said, hey, we just achieved $1 million in revenue. I had 5 or 6 people working there, and someone came up to me afterwards and said, hey, Mike, that's great. And by the way, congratulations on being a millionaire. I'm like, I'm not a millionaire. I said, we achieved $1 million in revenue. I'm actually going broke. Are you kidding me? There was no understanding. There was no correlation for my colleagues. I said, my gosh, I need to make this publicly available for them to understand. So we have open books here. We show our revenue numbers. We show the costs we're incurring. We show our profitability, or if we're struggling with it, where we're not profitable. So our team knows what's going on. But here's what's interesting. There's more than just the knowledge of the business operations and effectively their influence over supporting that. Like their work brings in revenue or profitability. What's also interesting is a sense of security. What I found is when my colleagues are clear of how we're doing financially, they also understand the stability that it represents to them. And so when the business is healthy, they know it's supporting them. But interestingly, and this happened last year, we went into a struggle state. We had this unexpected situation happen, and it put us in a financially unexpected state. The team didn't panic or anything. They said, oh, okay. It's interesting how this situation's affecting us. We need to fix this. We're going to double down our efforts or go into a sprint mode for as long as we can, but we're going to push forward and we're going to see through this to get back to that stable state. So it didn't scare people. It gave them understanding and confidence that they had an influence in moving us forward. So this automatic balance does come about. It doesn't lopside itself. If you focus on personal, people don't ignore the business. At least that's what I found.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, I love talking to you because every time I do, I can feel my brain going from side, and I'm just thinking, how do you ask your CFO How do you persuade your head of finance to do it? You know what we're going to do? We're going to give it open book. I know
Yeah,
my,
their minds just boom,
my
explodes.
Laura now, my Laura's watching this going, don't you dare.
Oh, you do. Yeah. That's so funny. And that's the common problem that, you're entrepreneurial, I'm entrepreneurial. We hear ideas. We're like, oh, let's do them all. Because it makes sense.
Mm.
And then the people who are the implementers, and those are different people. There's the innovators and the implementers. The implementers, like, are you kidding me? Like, we just barely figured out what we got going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these ideas can have an impact. I just encourage people to roll it out deliberately and test it as you move along. Don't go all in right away. Go in small increments. But do go all in on your employees. I'm just saying, don't try every idea at once. It could result in a mind explosion.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I come back from America and I get to go speak in America, which is amazing. I come back and, going over to America, you come back with all these ideas. I think the team has this 72 hours of like, whatever Mark says to us over 72 hours, just ignore him.
Yeah, exactly. The hurricane's coming back.
Let him get it out of his system and then it'll be back to normal. But
yeah, they hunker down.
Yeah.
It's so funny. That's the common challenge of entrepreneurs and business leaders is we get all this collection of ideas and there's this enthusiasm around it. And we come back at a certain point, we can't sustain that enthusiasm anymore. And we go back to our active state. It's often called the quick start. There's different kind of behavioral analysis, but a quick start, someone that gets excited about a concept, can get the initial stages going, but loses the momentum very quickly. So they're quick at starting and they're usually quick at finishing, but the in-between is where they struggle. We have to realize all these techniques I'm talking to you about require us to take the necessary time to properly implement it. So our job is come back with the ideas, then talk with our implementers and say, of all these ideas, which one do you think will have the biggest impact and maybe is the easiest to do? Let's prioritize and sequence. Let's store the rest for the future, but let's start with one thing, kind of like how you implement books that you read.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I have got this someday maybe list, and we just basically put them all in there. And there's a big, on my phone, the notes at the right at the very top, the pin note, it always says, how would this look if it was simple? So whatever idea we've got, it's like,
oh, that's so great. That's so great.
Simple one. So we would love everybody who's listening, watching, whenever you watch or tune in, please do go to Amazon or wherever you get your books from and go to All In, grab it. Mike Michalowicz, there are a plethora of books that are on there. When I put out to the audience that I'm going to be chatting with you, people were like, oh, Profit First, Clockwork,
yes,
Pumpkin Plan.
Yes.
Throwing them all out there. So
I love it.
People love yous. Like you've made such an impact. And now that you've coming more into the short-term rental industry, thanks to obviously Bill, who got you in to the short STR Wealth event and all those cool people there. And so it's amazing to see. And the main feedback that I saw from people who have read the book, Fraction Actionable Advice, which is what I love, and I know loads of people love, focus on building a thriving team and leadership development and self-reflection. So if that sounds like a little bit of you, All In on the Amazon, go and grab it. Mr. Mike Michalowicz, thank you very much. If are there any domains, I saw All In by Mike, is there anything like that going on? Where do you want people to go after they've got the book? Are you any resources?
Yeah.
Where can people go?
Yeah, if you want to go to one place, I guess the starting point would be Mike Motorbike, as in the motorcycle.com.
Yeah.
It ain't my name, but no one can spell my name. So Mike Motorbike is a nickname I have. And all the books are there. You can find your starting point. I hope it is All In, but you can find all the other books and resources there too.
And you always seem to be working on the next book. This book you seem to be working on for quite a few years to get to this point. Have you got an idea of what the next one is going to be?
I think so. It literally about 5 minutes before we went live here recording, I got an email from my publisher. It's going to be a Profit First workbook. And the challenge that many entrepreneurs have is they read Profit First and they're implementing it totally wrong. They need the help of a Profit First professional. So I'm creating a workbook that they can use in conjunction with an expert to navigate and really diagnose their business and implement it right. So it's not a traditional book in this case, but it looks like the workbook will be the next thing I come out with.
Like that. So there was one question that came in from Brandon, which is a Profit First question. And basically the answer to that is wait until the workbook comes out. Because it was asking the question about how do you make a difficult decision to cut a business or property when it doesn't meet your Profit First model? So,
yeah. I'm going to be addressing those type of things for sure in the book.
There you go. So as always, Mike, we really, really, really appreciate you and your time that you give up and all the cool stuff that you do. So thank you very much. Everybody go and grab his book and we will hopefully see you all again very soon.
Thank you, mate.
Bum, bum, bum. All right. Can we all please do me a massive favor? Drop that love heart emoji button as many times as possible. The book you need to go and get is The All In by Mike Michalowicz. It is there on Amazon. When you leave your review, say that Boostly sent you. The domain that he mentioned was motorbikemike.com. And he's had that because nobody can spell his last name. He is yet to go and visit Ukraine. That's where his name is from. He's been over to Europe. He's been to Amsterdam. He's been to UK last year, which was very cool. But yeah, he's meant to be over. But go and check it out. That interview was unreal. So thank you very much to everybody that has watched that, and all those lovely comments that has been left in was fantastic. Now, I've also got some other books that I'd like for you to check out. First book, Hospitable Hosts. We've spoken about it. There are a lot of Hospitable Host authors. There are 3 books in this series, and this is the first one. I feature somewhere in there, as well as a lot of the speakers that you have seen this week. There's 3 books that you can go and grab. And if you are going to be coming to the short stay summit in London next month, there's going to be a book launch for this, which is going to be very cool. This is all about stories from hosts like you. Because at the end of the day, stories sell. Everybody loves stories. I put a story in here about how we saved a guest's life, which is a cool book, cool story. Another book I want you to go and check out is $1 Million Weekend by Noah Kagan. Now, I've tried my hardest to get him back on the podcast. We had him on the podcast during lockdown, but he is so hard to get hold of. This book is unbelievable. It's so good. $1 Million Weekend. Go and check that out. It'll help you with sales so much. The next book, Talk Triggers by Jay Bear. This is for hospitality. Very, very good. It's all about what you can do to your guests that will make them talk about your business once they return. Talk Triggers. And the final recommendation is probably the book that started it all off for me personally, Tools of Titans. It is a chunky book by Mr. Tim Ferriss. So his podcast is what got me started in the world of entrepreneurship and business ownership. When I first, 2016, 2017, this book is 200 of his best episodes crammed in to a very chunky book. It's broken up into health, wealth, and another section, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's the one. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. And then the final 2 would be a miss without saying about these 2. These are the 2 Boostly books. One is the book Direct Play book. This is the first book that we put out. 101 marketing tips. This is one I did in 2022. I released it. I wrote it in 2021 when I had COVID for 2 weeks in Spain. This book was being like a massive catalyst for like the growth and trajectory of Boostly over the last 2 years. This book, people still buy it to this day. It's mad. Put a book out. It's just another It's just another avenue where people can discover Boostly. And you know the publisher still just keeps sending money every 3 months. People still buy it. It's fantastic to see, and I get a message, at least one message on Instagram every single day from somebody saying that they're reading the book, which is crazy. This is the second one, the blueprint. This was co-authored with some amazing vendors from the industry, some that you will have heard of, some of you not, but this is basically the foundation to put in place: property management software, guidebooks, insurance, payments, website, the whole shebang. It's in there. Thank you very much. All right. Oh, that's nice. Your books are epic. Thank you very much. And none of it was written with AI or ChatGPT. This is before ChatGPT. If and when I write another book, definitely going to have ChatGPT help me write them. Okie dokie. Let's finish this, shall we? This is a top secret special session. I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to get this done because he is a very busy guy. But yesterday, 1 o'clock. Well, he sent me a message saying, right, we're going to do it 1 o'clock today. So I jumped on a Zoom. As I was doing it, I said, do you mind if I just invite a few people in? I put a message out in the WhatsApp group chat and the Facebook group chat. I said, hey, 30 minutes. This interview is going to open your eyes massively. This guy, Enrico, is part of Traverse Legal. And since 2020, since the lockdowns, since he discovered something that Airbnb did, which was shady, to say the least, he has been fighting them and has got multiple cases against them. And he's helping hosts retrieve millions of dollars. And I really wanted to get him on to have a chat with him for the podcast. And when the summit came around, I was like, this is perfect timing. Let's just get this interview done, shall we? Because it is literally mind-blowing what he's going to talk about over these next 30 minutes. So please sit back. If you are still with me, and there are a lot of you, there's over 100 which are tuning in live, which is amazing. Thank you again. I thought we were going to have like 10 people with us tonight. So thank you very much. If you are with us and if you are ready for this, can you just please put a hashtag hell yeah? Everybody asking for a list of book recommendations. I'll of course do that later. Don't you worry. But if you are live with me, leave me a hashtag hell yeah. Just tap that love heart emoji button as many times as you can. And get ready for what is going to be a jaw-dropping 30 minutes. I'll of course be back after it. We'll sign all this off. We'll say our good nights, our good mornings, our good afternoons, and we'll call an end to the Book Direct Summit. But let's go, shall we?
My name is Enrico Schaefer. I am the founding attorney of Traverse Legal PLC, which is a law firm that I founded in 2004. And my law firm's always been dedicated to representing technology companies in the internet and tech space. So there are a lot of specialized laws that deal with tech companies, including platforms. We present companies like Airbnb on the platform side, software service companies, these types of things. And it just happened to be that when 2020 rolled around, COVID hit, and every host got that email from Airbnb saying, hey, we're going to refund all your guests, even if you have a strict cancellation policy. I had 3 Airbnb rentals at the time. So I got the same email. And I do this work. I understand the terms of service. I understand arbitration. I understand how platforms work. So I ended up getting dragged into this thing because I had this specialized knowledge about what was going on with Airbnb in terms of the platform. I had several rentals that were going to be affected by the refund. And so just out of curiosity, Mark, I just took a look at the terms of service and the extenuating circumstances policy when I got the email. And at the time, the extenuating circumstances policy said that it covered endemics. And I thought, I wonder what an endemic is. So I looked that up and I learned very quickly it was the opposite of an epidemic. So I was like, well, it sounds to me like COVID is not covered by the ECP. Therefore, these people should not be getting refunds. I didn't think too much of it and came back a couple of weeks later and noticed that Airbnb had changed the word endemic to epidemic secretly and had tried to essentially defraud Airbnb hosts, pretending that epidemics like COVID were covered when in fact they were not. So that started me down this path of really kind of representing hosts. And it started out with the Airbnb COVID refunds, of which I still have hundreds of cases pending against Airbnb, have arbitrated hundreds of cases. And in the process of all of that, I ended up developing a reputation as kind of the go-to attorney for hosts who have issues with Airbnb and property management companies who do Airbnb, this type of thing. And so now I have a lot of other different types of cases. We represent hosts and owners, property managers on all of the zoning and condo regulation issues where all of a sudden someone's saying you can't be an Airbnb in this particular locale. We represent hosts against Airbnb when there is some sort of adverse action taken by Airbnb against the host. Either they refuse to make a payout, or they suspend or terminate the host from the platform, and the host is trying to get reinstated to the platform because from the host point of view, they didn't breach the terms. There was no justified reason for removing them, these types of issues. And then of course there's the, the disputes that deal with, sometimes there's a a bogus rating that is provided by a guest that's doing reputational damage that the host wants removed and should have been removed under the Airbnb policies, but was not. So it's a whole variety of different, litigation, arbitration, and just general business representation of Airbnb hosts.
It's still crazy to me that, 4 years later, there are still cases on your docket relating to COVID. Have we got any end in sight when it comes to those cases?
Yes, because as of March 13th, about 2 weeks ago, the statute of limitations ran. And so no further claims could be brought, presumably, for COVID refunds. So the last cases have been filed and everything's going to run its way through the system. And, we started out, we were losing more cases than we were winning. And the reason is I think because everyone was still traumatized by COVID. And so it didn't matter what the law was, didn't matter what the contract said. There were a lot of arbitrators who were like, but COVID, was the defense, but COVID, as we got further away from COVID, and everyone just was basically F you COVID, right? So the whole thing flipped on its head. And now, the vast majority of arbitrators look at the contract, look at the ECP, look at what Airbnb did. And I think I've won, like 8 of the last 9 cases that I've tried personally of the team of lawyers that we've got trying these things, just because it's so obvious that what Airbnb did was fraud.
So the majority of the new cases that are coming into your docket, into your world, into your company, how would you sort of break down like the percentages from, let's just say, zoning laws to Airbnb kicked you off the platform, T's and C's, guests? Like, how would you say like the majority of the things that are coming for hosts and management companies are coming to you and saying, team, we need your help here?
So it's a good question. I think that the biggest thing happening right now, honestly, are municipal regulations, government regulations trying to limit short-term rentals in certain areas in neighborhoods. So that is a trend that has really picked up steam in the last 18 months. And, we get a lot of folks who are like, hey, I'm either being selectively enforced because there's 200 other Airbnbs in my neighborhood and no one's coming after me. Or what will often happen is these issues will morph into, we help people get organized on a geographic basis, get the hosts all banded together, and then challenge the municipal ordinance. If it's a condo association issue, we're looking at the condo docs and trying to find where the regulation wasn't put in place properly. So that's a big ticket item that I don't see going away anytime soon. The kind of the strategy that Airbnb is using, and we're aligned with Airbnb on this particular issue, is that they're going to the states in the US and trying to get the states to legislate that municipalities cannot ban short-term rentals. So Florida is right on the cusp of passing such a statute. And so there'll be certain things that you could do, permitting and the rest, but you can't just ban short-term rentals. So we'll see how that goes. The next biggest category is certainly account suspensions and terminations. Hosts get suspended and then ultimately terminated all the time. Excuse me.
Okay.
It's shocking to them when it happens, because in most cases they have no idea what has happened or why, or they do know that the guest simply made something up, and Airbnb always sides with the guests, right? The guest says there's a camera in the bathroom. There's not, right? The guest says that the host said something discriminatory, but they didn't. So there's a whole set of different things that can get you tossed from the platform. some of which are legitimate and are within Airbnb's rights, right? But there's a good percentage of people who all of a sudden just find themselves without the ability to use the platform, and they did nothing wrong, and they're fairly traumatized because, you know, that house is putting the kid through college, or they can't make the payment on the mortgage without the income, or this is their business and they've got 30 properties that are all of a sudden delisted from Airbnb.com, leaving them with either direct bookings or VRBO. So it definitely is a big problem. And what people fail to understand is Airbnb doesn't care if they get it wrong. They cannot staff the problems that occur in the world that they have created. So I think most of us realize that VRBO kind of takes one approach and Airbnb takes the opposite approach. VRBO mostly stays out of it, leaves it to the host and the guests to figure stuff out, with some exceptions. Airbnb wants to have their finger on everything, right? They want to control all the aspects of your rental. And so in order to do that, you'd have to staff it, right? If you're going to get involved in every dispute, if you're going to be the arbiter of everything, you have to put the adequate investigation team in place to be able to sort through things. Airbnb does zero in terms of support, as we know. They don't investigate anything with any credible or reasonable approach. So that result is just a tremendous number of arbitrary decisions being made by Airbnb. And yeah, you're right. Yes, you're driving revenue to Airbnb, but no, they just don't care, right? So I think that's another big chunk of them. There's this third category of hosts who end up being severely traumatized or injured by a guest, attacked, or it turns out that the guest is an arsonist, and the Airbnb won't, didn't do the background check they promised, and all of a sudden there's an arsonist living in the spare bedroom of your home with your kids in there, and Airbnb, and they're having a mental breakdown, and Airbnb does nothing to help you get that guest out of the property, and in fact will then kick you off the platform for having called the police to try and save your family from being burned to the ground, right? So there's a lot of stuff like that happens that's like in the injury category, where Airbnb failed to do something and the host is injured as a result. I think those are the primary categories of things. The other one would be that, people who are really serious about this and have lots of properties or property management companies, they hire us to do contracts, rental contracts, to help file the corporate organizational documents to protect them from, certain liabilities, partnership agreements when they bring in investors, all this sort of stuff. So just general outside counsel corporate work.
There's loads to unpack there. One thing that I found that was really interesting is that you've got with certain cases you are working against Airbnb, but then in some circumstances with the zoning laws you're actually working kind of alongside Airbnb. Yeah. How does that come down? Like I can't even begin to imagine, even though I've watched many episodes of Suits and Billions over the years on the TV, but I can't even begin to imagine how where in one circumstance, let's just say one day you're discussing something and going against Airbnb, and then the next day you could be working alongside them. How does that work from like a professional scale for yourself? How do you even get around that mentally?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer, I think, goes back to something I say to arbitrators all the time, which is we love Airbnb. We built Airbnb. Did Airbnb go and buy a home and take on a mortgage in order for its platform to be successful? Did they do the cleaning? Do they do the maintenance? Do they do all of that white glove 5-star service to make the guests happy? No. Hosts do all of that work, and Airbnb benefits and takes a cut as a result. But the partnership that Airbnb, that Brian Chesky always promised to hosts, has been an illusion. But that doesn't mean that hosts aren't still pursuing that partnership. That is to say, How much better off would Airbnb did if they treated hosts with respect, if they performed the obligations that they're contractually agreed to perform, or that they market on their homepage? Like, is it surprising to people to know that air cover is just a big consumer fraud? That air cover is, if there's any sort of significant claim, it's just fraud. They won't protect you at all. They'll do nothing for you if someone burns your house down. So, like, why? You know, our big question, why are we not on the same team? And so one of the mantras that I've had since the beginning has been, individually, hosts are powerless against Airbnb. Collectively, we're bigger than Airbnb. And we're just asking for a seat at our own kitchen table. So that's my attitude, is like, where we can align, we align. Where we have to bludgeon the child into submission so that they aren't being stupid, then that's what we do, right? And so arbitration is a primary tool for people who have properties in the US or are US residents. Arbitration is the dispute resolution route. And Airbnb put that in place knowing the vast majority of hosts would never file for arbitration. Our law firm has filed more arbitrations than all other arbitrations ever filed against Airbnb by hosts individually ever. And there's almost no one else out there doing this but us in terms of representing hosts. But you don't need us. You can file your own arbitration. And that, to me, is the part of this equation of how we restore balance to the force, right? And Airbnb doesn't have the money or the time or the resources to fight hosts in arbitration. It costs them far more to arbitrate than to just simply pay the host or deal with the issue. So the more arbitration that get filed either represented by counsel or unrepresented by counsel, the more leverage hosts have to force fairness onto the system.
There's a word that I've circled while I'm taking notes as you've been speaking, and it was collective, like collectively coming together. If you try and do this yourself, you're nowhere, but if you do it collectively, you've got a chance. And not only is collectively when coming together against Airbnb and what they did during COVID, but collectively when it comes to zoning laws and regulations that are coming in. So I guess my first true question is, from all of the things that you've been looking at, all of the cases you've looked at and you've actually gone to with it, what can somebody do? What could a host do to start to come together as a collective? What could be some best practices that they could start to do in their area, locally, nationally, statewide, however? What is that sort of advice that you could pass on to a host to start to come together collectively to start to fight these multiple issues?
That is the key. That is the most important question that I think hosts should be asking right now. And I think you've already suggested part of the answer, which is on a local level, every municipality, every locality should have a short-term rental organization where you and your neighbors know who is in the short-term rental game. It can be it usually is. It starts out as a Facebook group, right? And so you've got this group of people so that you can know what's going on at a government level when there's a meeting where this is going to be discussed. You already got your group together. You could activate, right? If you need to push back against a municipal regulation, you already have the people in place to do that. And the commitment that, hey, everyone's going to chip in $1,000 to get legal representation. Because again, collectively, for most municipalities, they don't want to spend money on legal. They don't want to fight things in court. They don't have it in their budget. Citizens get pissed when all of a sudden they realize $80,000 of tax money went to fight a cause that was lost, right? Because there are so many hosts in an area, it's really easy to fund up that fight and use that economic leverage in order to either change a municipal regulation or zoning law, or to get a seat at the table and come to consensus as to what a good permitting and licensing system might look like. then they can on a state. So in Michigan, there is a great short-term rental organization that's very well organized and funded. When things are happening at a state level, now you can go and work with Airbnb and lobby the legislature to be able to, be able to affect those laws to get the base. The base law that everyone's trying to get in the state level is exactly what's happening in Florida. Municipalities have their hands tied behind their back in terms of trying to ban short-term rentals. And the argument there is, this is my property, right? Like, this is a draconian law, municipal regulation saying you cannot ever, under any circumstances, if the problem is noise, there's noise ordinances. Enforce those. If the problem is trash, there's trash ordinance, enforce those, right? So there's a whole host of laws that are already on the books that should cover any problems. And once you get rid of those problems because they're being enforced properly, then what's the justification for banning short-term rentals, right? So get organized. The other is, groups like you've clearly put together at Boostly, like, we need to get organized at every possible level in every possible way so that when things are happening, we can not only share the knowledge, which happens organically in a lot of these groups, but be proactive in advocating for ourselves. And what hasn't really happened is advocating as against Airbnb. How do we as a loosely affiliated set of organizations start to push Airbnb into a position where they are now creating a true committee of hosts who do help create policies and the implementation of those policies? And I think arbitration is a key component of that, because at some point Airbnb is going, in these cases that we filed on COVID, we're talking about tens and potentially, hundreds of millions of dollars just in transactional fees and attorney's fees for them to fight it. That's a lot of money, even for Airbnb.
That is a lot of money. So obviously we don't want everybody to go to arbitration. Obviously we don't want to go down that route. Some people have to go down that route. So I guess for those that are watching, what would be some effective strategies for hosts to manage disputes, but most importantly, protect their interests, without having to go down the route of arbitration? Where would you say to somebody to make sure you've got your bases covered, so it doesn't have to go down that route? But most importantly, if it does, it just makes the case a home run.
So let's take two categories of situations. One is you didn't do anything wrong, but you still got kicked off. There was really nothing you can do about that, right? And then there's this other where you screwed up and now you're trying to say, I won't do it again, but they've got the right to throw you off or what have you, right? Cancel all your upcoming bookings and throw you off the platform, which is what happens. The first thing that you need to do is you need to understand the policies of Airbnb. So I do get people who contact me and they used discriminatory language as against a guest of a particular background. And I tell them, you're done. No one's going to side with you, right? You can't excuse that. You can't say, but I'm justified in my discrimination, because that's not the test. The test is, does Airbnb have the right to say that there should be no discriminatory language used between hosts and guests on the platform? And every arbitrator is going to agree that they can, right? So understand the policies. You didn't disclose where the cameras were, right? You're going to be in trouble. You're going to have a hard time getting back on the platform if you screw up the camera policy, right? So I think that the other one is if they've really scaled up background checks. If you have a prior criminal misdemeanor or felony, any prior criminal action that's been taken against you, whether found guilty or not, these background check companies can turn that information up and they automatically trigger a review by trust and safety, and they err on the side of caution and they throw people off, right? They get that wrong sometimes, and people get thrown off and that was the wrong person or they didn't do anything, right? But if you've got that in your history, you need to be aware that you need to be, gravitating towards VRBO and direct booking, and maybe pushing things off to Vacasa because they're going to be the hosting account. So you need to be aware of that part of it. And the other category of you didn't really do anything wrong, what I typically see is in termination actions, I see things like a guest lied about some sort of interaction, or lied about a camera, or is looking to be retaliatory. Making the communications go through the platform is the best way, because then Airbnb can see it. But if it's going to go through text message, you need to make sure you've got a documented record of what really happened. And if the guest said anything that smacks of extortion, if you don't give me a refund, I will report you to Airbnb. That usually will save the day for you, right? So make sure that you're preserving evidence, that you're accumulating that stuff. For another big category of folks who get kicked off are because of what are called associated accounts. If your son at age 17 got a misdemeanor assault charge while in high school, went off and joined the military, went to Europe and served over there, but happened to come home 10 years later for Christmas and share an internet connection with you, right? I've had clients who've been thrown off the platform because they are associated with the son who got kicked off the platform on a background check and visited and shared an internet connection with the parents over Christmas. And of course, those cases we usually win, and win big, because they're so ridiculous and so unjustifiable. And so when Airbnb actually tries to justify what it did, it just tends to backfire, right? So that associated account can be linked to your spouse. If your spouse has been thrown off or suspended, then you've got a problem. If your spouse has a criminal conviction, that's a problem. If you buy a home that 5 years earlier was being operated by a host as an Airbnb who got kicked off, they will link that address and they will throw you off, thinking that you are the prior host or associated with the prior host. So all that kind of stuff can happen. You did nothing wrong, and you want to try and not end up in arbitration. So what'll happen is, usually, but not always, they will suspend you first while they do an investigation, right? But they won't tell you what they're investigating. You have to guess. So you better do everything you can, try and figure out what it is you're defending against. And if you can figure that out, then you've got to make sure that you're telling your story in a way that is legally sound, that is not just a, well, yeah, but, right? It's like got to be a legally sound defense that, like, this did not happen. Here's the proof it didn't happen, right? And so during that suspension period, you still have access to the platform, so you could communicate with Airbnb. Once you're terminated, you have no option but arbitration, because you can't even send an email, right? They're going to pick up the phone. So there's no way for you to actually make your case. So you do, in that suspension period, I do get retained sometimes to help with the response, or to simply put on letterhead with my name, a letter back upstream to Airbnb saying I'm now representing them, and you better be, taking a hard look at this. This is our position, right? So they know who I am, obviously. So that can do something that I'm always advising, which is you've got to ask for a supervisor, and the supervisor's supervisor. You keep pushing to get to a higher level of review, because what that really just means is a level of review. A lot of these suspensions, nothing happens during that suspension period. They don't look at anything. They just, 2 weeks later, someone realizes that the easiest way for them to do their job is just terminate, and boom, you're done. So understand the policies, don't violate the policies. Understand how the terms of service work. Understand that they have all the leverage, and that FAIR has nothing to do with it, right? Be dispassionate, get your documents together, make your best case on suspension, And if you have to go to termination, you can do that arbitration yourself or through counsel. If you're outside the United States, then there is no arbitration option. You have to file a suit where you either reside or in Ireland. And so there's a different dispute resolution system for people outside the United States.
Okay, so that was very good. Say that we are now going to the process of arbitration. Let's just say that it's gone past the case of being able to contact them. And again, you've got a lot of track record on this. You've helped a lot of people with this. What would you say is the most common mistake you see hosts make when it gets to arbitration? They come to you, they come to your team. What is that biggest mistake that you see people make?
I think one of the big mistakes is just getting too caught up on how unfair it is. That cannot be the lens by which you pursue this, because that's irrelevant. It's not fair, right? You have to be strategic. And so you have to understand what Airbnb's defenses are going to be. And generally, they're going to be that there's all kinds of boilerplate language in the terms of service that they will argue, say, Airbnb can do whatever it wants for whatever reason it wants, and no one can question its judgment, not even the arbitrator. That's not what the terms say, but that's what they're going to argue, right? And so that's their foundation, is that the terms give them this right. And there are two categories of terms of service. There's language that's super general, and there's language that's specific. The specific language, it says that they can, for instance, terminate you if you breach the terms of service, or if for the safety of the community. If you didn't breach the terms of service and there's nothing unsafe about you, you should be able to win that contract argument, right? But that's super specific. That's what happened here. That's what they told you. You breached the terms because you violated the community policy. So that's what you're arguing. And let them go ahead and argue all the other stuff. It's like, well, a reasonable person reading this would think that this paragraph that says specifically what happened here is the one that applies, and I am not unsafe and I did not breach. So you want to be focused, and you want to focus on either the policy language or the terms of service language, depending on, it's usually going to be that you violated a policy. So you got to go find that policy, do a PDF of that policy so you could show that that you did nothing wrong. So I think that's definitely a big one. I think the other one is you have to understand that there are damage limitation provisions which do control. And so if you're going to get back on the platform, the main thing you're looking to do is get back on the platform, but you're not going to get lost profits for the 6 or 8 months it takes you to go through the arbitration process. And if you ask for that, it's on one hand, you're saying enforce the contract, but on the other hand, you're saying don't enforce the contract against me, right? So that pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I've seen it happen so many times where hosts just were too indignant, too full of themselves, I want $2 million in damages, and ended up losing across the board because they just didn't come across very well in arbitration. You want to be balanced, you want to be business-like, these types of things. So understand that you could get the money for the reservations that they canceled because of the termination. So all your future booked and canceled reservations, you can get back on the platform. And in extreme circumstances, maybe they'll do something more for you, the arbitrator, but you don't want to push too hard on that. You certainly can tell them that, oh, by the way, this has cost me, $300,000 in revenue that I would have had, but you got to be very careful about how hard you push on that particular stone. I think that's it.
This is some fascinating stuff. There's some fascinating things in here. And we've got a very small select group of members who are tuning in and watching this. And I hope you're really paying attention to this. And it's so hard. You think of it from just like a human point of view. To be able to take out all emotion when there's so much riding on it must be tricky, but the absolute win is there. So I guess the final question, and I really do appreciate your time, and we're going to make sure we link up how people can get in contact with you after, but we're getting to a point now where there is so much of this happening, and it's not going to slow down. The more that Airbnb grows, and the thing that's fascinating to me is that they're growing and they want to grow and they want to be this behemoth, but they want to have a touch point on every single aspect of the booking process, where the more established providers, Expedia Group, which is Verbo, and Booking.com, which is obviously the Booking Holidays Group, they sort of have a finger point to a certain level, but then they just let the guest and the host deal with the rest. But Airbnb are insistent on this, but at the same time, they haven't put the things in place to help scale it, which is bananas to me. But anyway, how do you see the relationship between Airbnb specifically and hosts evolving, particularly regarding, dispute resolution? And I guess the follow-on would be, what steps can hosts take to advocate for better protection and terms from Airbnb?
Yeah, it's a moving target, right? I mean, I think we always have had the sense that that Airbnb sides with the guests, right? It's the easiest thing. That the bean counters in the back, especially as they move towards IPO, did the numbers crunching, and they realized that guests are financially more valuable than hosts, right? And I could see how that math would work up, and so that caused them to take this approach that the guest is always right. Now, what happened after? So we've already had a huge impact on Airbnb with the COVID arbitrations and all these other arbitrations that we filed. So what happened after all the COVID chaos is Airbnb went to a marketing campaign that said brought to you by hosts, right? That was their effort to try and appease what was clearly this outrage amongst the host community about how they were being treated, right? It really highlighted what was on the fringes and brought it into the spotlight. Airbnb doesn't care about you. You are not their partner, right? So I think that the pendulum has swung back a little bit towards the hosts. And we do see that in the fact that they do not want to deal with us in our arbitration cases on termination and the rest. Whereas initially they were very adamant that they're just always right. Now that they've gotten tagged so many times in arbitration, they will negotiate with us now. So these are all signs that they're trying a little harder, right? And I think we need to continue to push on that trend line in all the different ways that hosts can be organized and have a voice, right? Dispute resolution, they haven't made dramatic changes to the dispute resolution provisions of the terms of service. And part of that is because their hands are tied. If they want the class action waiver provision to hold, they've got to provide effective dispute resolution and fair dispute resolution terms to hosts, because they've taken away the host's biggest right, which is to go to court and to file a class action. So they're kind of stuck there in terms of, of the process. If they could have more dramatic language saying, we always win, they would. VRBO's terms of service are actually far less balanced, and dispute resolution is far more of a joke under the literal terms, but you don't end up there for the VRBO very often, right? So their terms may or may not even be enforceable because they're so ridiculous. But with Airbnb, I think that over the last 5 years, it appears to me that they're going to stick with this dispute resolution process. The variable is how many people are going to file lawsuits in their place of residence outside the US, find an attorney, right? Do a small claims action, do it on your own, and how many people are going to file arbitrations, because the more of that pressure they feel, the more they have to staff up to get it right in the first place.
It has been fascinating. And even if you're watching this and you are not a US citizen, or even if you're a US citizen and you're not based in the US, this is just to see the other side of all of this is fascinating. And I want to thank you very much for being part of this and for coming on and sharing this knowledge. So the best place for people to go, you sent me 2 links. Can you just spell Travis Legal for everybody, please? Because my
it's like
pronunciation.
like Traverse, right? Traverse, legal, legal, traverselegal.com. But you could also Google like Enrico and Traverse, or Enrico and Airbnb lawyer. And I've got, probably over 100,000 pages of content that come back on search. So I'm pretty easy to find, focused on the word Enrico.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's YouTube, there's everything. And we'll put all of the links, all of the documentation in the blogs and all of the follow-up to this. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I guess the final thing is, if there's anybody who in the US who is just at that point where they need help and guidance, is there any particular docket you're looking to take on at the moment? Any type of client? Or are you just saying, listen, reach out, we'll have a chat, and if we think it's worthwhile, we'll take it from there?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've got since I know what all of the issues are, like I know what you're gonna say, right? I know, as long as you tell me the general category, I'm ready to help you right now. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time, trying to figure out what's going on. So we've actually got a $550 project that a lot of hosts sign up for, which is just, I've got this question about, I've been suspended. I need someone to take a look and improve my response. I've gotten a bad review from a guest that tried to extort me. What are one of my options, right? The vacation rental company, management company, is screwing me over, right? So for $550, we'll take a look at background documents and actually represent you and actually provide you legal advice on specific issues. And we can get you a tremendous amount of value at that level. And then sometimes that spins into a bigger representation. Sometimes that's all you need to get, from here to there, to understand your issue well enough to know how to navigate it yourself. So I think that that's probably what I do more than anything, is have these 1-hour conversations with hosts on specific issues and then send them on their way. And hopefully that's all it takes.
Amazing. We really appreciate it. You are truly the guy that Airbnb doesn't want to know about, and we thank you for your time. Mind blown, right? So can you just all please tap that love heart emoji button one final time and go over to YouTube, type Enrico Airbnb lawyer. His YouTube channel will come up. He's also massively into AI, massively into NFTs. So go have some fun, but go and say hi and go say thank you for doing this. If you are in the US, and I can see Jenny and Toby have been massively affected by Airbnb and by zoning laws, etc. And I know a lot of people are working with Enrico. It was a risk putting that video out, I'm not going to lie, because they do not want you to know about people like Enrico. So, but I did it because of so many people's comments, how they didn't realize about this, about the shockingness of it all. And listen, I said it in the video, like Enrico one day will go up against Airbnb and the next day is working with them, right? Airbnb, booking.com, Verbo, you have to be on those sites because of the marketing spend. They have put billions down over the course of the last year, so they are everywhere. But what is really important is that you make them work for you and not the other way around. You don't put all of your eggs in the Airbnb basket, because all it takes is a simple click of the fingers and your revenue, half your business, 90% of your business could be gone. And this is why we did this week. This whole week has been done for free to able to educate you. And this is why 8 years ago I started doing Boostly. I never envisioned it growing to the state that it has done. I always thought it was going to stick in just Scarborough and Whitby and that was it. But I mean, it's grown, and here I am speaking to over 100 people live on a Friday evening all around the world. There's been over 1,000 people in this group this week. Over 5,000 people put their email down to be part of this, and we'll definitely be catching up on the replay and all of that. And it is an absolute pleasure and a privilege, and I'm very grateful that you all come together as a collective. And collective is the is the main word here. If you try and go it alone, it's very, very hard. But as a collective, you've got a voice. And we said this all the way back on Tuesday when we were talking about regulation. You come together as a collective. Start up a Facebook group, start up a text message group, a WhatsApp group in your local area with other hosts. Start to have that local voice, okay? Create a collective. That's what we've done at Boostly. We are creating a collective. We've now got 2,500 plus hosts, manager companies, vacation rental managers, owners, all around the world. Last year, we posted $62 million in tracked bookings on our websites. That's not including emails or phone calls that have come in, tracked on our website. This year, we want to get that to at least $100 million, because for every dollar that we can have direct, like Laura said, that is money back in to the local community. That is money back in paying local cleaners, paying local handymen. That is money back in, and then you're recommending local businesses. That is money back into the community. That's what happens when a direct booking comes in. And it's the side of it that nobody looks at. Everybody looks at it as from commission. So we go, I'll save in commission. But there's all the other aspects. It's the power of the booking. So when a guest books direct, it is your rules. It is your policy. There isn't a big brother overseeing you. Guests are getting smart, right? And guests know how to get money back. And the crazy thing is, I was speaking to a client of ours last week, and their listing was suspended on Airbnb because the guest had complained about a mark on the sofa. Now, that guest, and this is the crazy part, get ready for this, he was a host on Airbnb who was staying at another host place who knew how to play the system. And that client of ours had their listing suspended while they were under investigation, even though it was absolute nonsense. When a guest books on Airbnb, every single booking, the host is scared of saying something to upset the guest. The host is scared of the guest, and the guest knows this because they value their Superhost badge. They value that 5-star rating, and they don't want to upset or rock the apple cart, so to speak. With a direct booking, it's your rules. And if you have to cancel for whatever reason, you cancel, right? And so this is why we do this. And we've got many people who are part of Boostly that are watching this right now. And I love every single one of you, and thank you so much for taking part in this. But I know there's a lot of you who are not. And if you're in that case, and no, you're not going to be here on day 5 if you're not wanting to increase your direct bookings. If you are serious, then I really do encourage you to go and book a call with our team. The call is absolutely free, doesn't cost a penny. We will work out, have a conversation with you, and figure out if you're going to be the right fit for us and if we're the right fit for you. And you can go and book that call right now. We've got slots that have opened up for next week. Come into the website, boostly.co.uk, BOOSTLY.co.uk. Come down here, click on the Calendly. You can go and schedule a call. Just pop in how many properties you have from 1 to 300 plus. We help everybody. And as you can see, call spots are gone for today, but we've opened the slots up for next week. Come and have a chat with the team, and we'll honestly say if we think that you're going to be a good fit or not. And if you do join, then you get the 4 elements that we talked about: website, CRM, training, community. You get coaching, guidance, hand-holding, and as well a money-back guarantee. So I guarantee you it will work. If not, I'll give you it all back. And I'll give you a little bit extra on top to apologize for wasting for your time. And if not, if you haven't got the funds, if you haven't got the budget, I totally understand. For less than $20, you can go and get those 2 books that I spoke about earlier. Book Direct Playbook, Book Direct Blueprint. Go and use that, implement that, get to the point where you have the budget, then come back to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you. For everybody else, I really do want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you this week, and we will 100% do it again. Let me figure out properly the dates this time, so I'm not doing it on a on a bank holiday weekend, national holiday weekend, spring break, Easter break, whatever you want to call it, break. But it'll be some point in June. I've already had a couple of people email me saying that they would like to be a speaker, which is fantastic. Email mark@boostly.co.uk. And if you want to be alerted of when we're going to do this again, then you're in the right place. I've got your email. You follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and all the good things. So with that being said, I think it is time to draw this to a conclusion. 5 days, countless hours, free content for you. The next steps with this group, what is going to happen? All of the videos are going to get moved onto YouTube, the Boostly YouTube channel, okay? It's absolutely free. All I ask on that channel is you subscribe. We are closing in on 1 million views, which is unreal on YouTube, which is great. So please make sure you go there. Boostly YouTube channel, go and hit the subscribe. Please do go and share those videos. Go and tell everybody about them. All of the videos are going to be put into our AI note taker. So they'll be summarized for you, which will be cool. And of course, if you want to ask any follow-up questions, speak to the experts, all of that, then go to the YouTube channel. I'll have all the links in there as well. After this week, this group will get closed down. And I encourage you to keep in contact on Instagram, Facebook. Come and join the hospitality community. It's a totally free Facebook group. We've got loads of people in there and all the names that you'll recognize from this. Again, just want to say thank you very much. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with myself next week. Let me know. What have you got planned in the comments? Before I close this down, I'm going to go have a glass of something and read all the comments as I reflect on this week. Let us know what you've got on over the course of the next week. What are you doing for the Easter weekend, if anything at all? And yeah, have a good one. Thank you again. I'll bid you adieu. And if you're going to be at the short stay summit in London in April, I will see you there. If you're going to be at the Shorties Award, or if you're going to be at the Scale Rentals event in Barcelona, I will see you in person. Please do come up and say hi. And with that being said, thank you very much. And we shall see you all very, very soon. Ta-ta.